What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode here of Dolphins versus the World. And as always, we're joined by the man behind the camera, our producer, Joel. And with me today, Anthony. Welcome back. How you feeling, buddy?
I'm actually getting over a little bit of a sickness here, getting over a little bit of a cold whenever I travel. I guess that's like the theme. But I'm excited, man. We got 2 of the 5 games that we need to win down. So let's go get that 9-3.
Yeah. I mean, and I think we'll talk about it over the course of the show, but I don't see any reason why this shouldn't be another comfortable victory. This is, the Dolphins, like I've been thinking these few games, like honestly, it's just about getting better. Like get the win. If they don't get the win, then that's like cause for concern. But these games, like there's no easy games in the NFL and everything that we've seen all year, but these are teams that are in disarray for the most part. All these teams who are playing here are in rough shape. Like I think everyone knows Ron Rivera is not going to be back. I don't know why he's still there. I would just move on with it. If you're not going to hire Eric Bieniemy, there's no way I could ever pronounce his last name right, but Eric Bieniemy, like give him a chance, like give him a couple games sample, see what he's got. Like everyone's heard the rumors, but at least that's what I do. But yeah, they're a mess in Washington.
Yeah, Washington has been one of the most dysfunctional teams, I feel like, probably for the last, I don't know, it feels like really ever since Mike Shanahan left with Kyle. Like ever since he got fired and Kyle left and went to Atlanta, they've just been like a really bad run team. So yeah, you look at this game, Miami should take care of business. There's not really, any worry in my mind that this could be one of those games that we lose. I have, some things definitely to keep an eye on that we'll talk about with the game. But overall, like I just look at the Commanders and the writing's on the wall. You got rid of your 2 best defensive players or 2 of your best defensive players recently at the trade deadline. Your defense right now is currently the worst in the NFL as far as points per game. You're going against the Dolphins offense that is no longer number 1 in points per game because of the Cowboys game last night, but they are number 2 still. So you're going against an offense that can score points. So I just look at this and I go, we'll talk about it more, but kind of like the last 2 weeks, what we've said, just go in, take care of business, and you should be walking out 9-3 heading into that Titans game on Monday night.
Yeah, and honestly, what's beautiful about what the Dolphins have been doing is with when we're winning, like the teams that we are needing help from are giving us help. And typically it doesn't really, at least in my memory, it feels like it's come down to the last few weeks and it's like, we need this team to win. We need this team to win. It would never happen. But now, like, I guess maybe just because there's more games, it's early in the season, like feels like we're getting a lot of help. And, there's some tough matchups this week again for the teams that we're chasing. So, and that are in the contention with us. Like the Bills are on a bye. I think that's probably the biggest team that the Dolphins should be following. If you're a Dolphins fan, you want to worry about what they're doing. Again, like winning the AFC East is, I think, priority number 1 at the moment. I don't think any Dolphins fan would disagree with that.
We both talked about how if the Dolphins won those 5 games, 2 of which we have, and the Bills lost 2 more the rest of the season, then we win the AFC East. So, we play this game, you take care of business, you go 9-3, Bills are on a bye week, but next week they have to go to Arrowhead, which is probably the hardest place probably in the NFL to play, and they have a lot of bad memories there. So you could realistically, because we play the Titans on Monday night, you could be going into that game on Monday night with the Bills having lost, saying, hey, let's just win this game and then let's go next week. We're at home again. Let's take care of business against the Jets. And again, you're sitting there at, what is it, 4 p.m.
Lynch, because our magic is 4 wins. Yeah, 4 wins.
Yep.
between us and the Bills. Yeah, if we win these 3 games and they lose that, I think then that'd be a wrap at the Jets.
Yeah. So the Bills have already lost one. They've already lost the Eagles game. And I predicted that they were going to lose that and the Chiefs game, and we were going to win out these 5 games. And so we'll head into the Cowboys game with the AFC East already clinched, which is awesome because then you kind of play those last 3 games, not preparing for the playoffs, but it's not a must win. And that's a great place to be, where those are never must win games because they're hard opponents that you have to play. And you go in there, you're kind of playing with house money in a way. Like, you just go out there, let's just try to win. Let's try to get as good of a position in the playoffs as we can. But if we're losing games, we don't want to, but if we do, we're still guaranteed a home playoff game. So that's definitely what they're trying to do right now. And again, you can't really place it any better as far as the remaining 3 games that they have to win in order to do their part to make that scenario happen. So we'll see. But it's hard for me to even comprehend having a home playoff game because I've never experienced it. So like the thought of that happening, the thought of us being 11-3, if that were to happen, is pretty awesome. But again, I don't want to get too ahead of myself here.
Yeah, the last playoff home game we had was against the Ravens, and I don't know the exact year, but we got killed. It was the year we won the division, and the Ravens, I think they were.
I think it was 2008.
It was 8. Yeah, I mean, Jesus. I was gonna say, like, I was trying to think of who was quarterback for them at that time, but yeah, I mean, I just remember being at the game and the Dolphins got crushed. Like, it was over before it even started. But yeah, I mean, it's like the home record speaks for itself these last 2 years. So I think everyone knows getting a home playoff game. I mean, at this point, like, I don't want to say playoffs are a lock, but like they're like upwards of 97%. I think I've seen. I think with a win, it'd pretty much be a done deal that they're in the playoffs. But you definitely don't want to, at this point, with how much of a stranglehold the Dolphins have on the division, it'd be pretty crushing at this point to have to go somewhere else for wild card weekend. I think the 1 seed's pretty much off the table, like with the Chiefs schedule.
Unless anything crazy happens. Like, yeah, I agree. I just don't. I look at the only way I could see that happening is if, again, like the Bills beat the Chiefs next week, and then the Dolphins, like, because let me look up the Chiefs schedule real quick before we get into this game, because there's not really much to talk about the game, but
it was funny. Yeah, like they went down 14-0, the Chiefs, and I was like, whoa, like, something maybe happened here, and then the Raiders didn't score again.
yeah, like I'm sitting here. The reality is probably the Chiefs. Well, again, it depends because, the Chiefs might be sitting there against the Bengals and Chargers, or against the Chargers being like, we're going to rest our starters because the Dolphins just lost to the Ravens and the Cowboys, or the Cowboys or the Ravens, So I don't know who they're going to be playing, but I mean, they should win the rest of their games. I don't see one team they should lose to. Chargers are a dysfunction. Raiders in Kansas City this time. The Bengals without Joe Burrow. The Patriots. The Bills, I'm expecting them to beat. And then they play the Packers this Sunday. So, yeah, the Chiefs are probably going to be 14-3. So the only way they're probably going to get the first seed, the Dolphins, is if we won out and the Chiefs lost to the Bills or one of those teams. But I just don't see that happening. But again, if you can get one home, if you can get a home playoff game, like, just do that, because if you get a home playoff game, like, anything can happen in the playoffs. We've seen crazier things happen. Just get a home playoff game, get healthy, stay healthy, and we'll take care of that. But I'd just love to see a home playoff game. I think it'd mean a lot for the community.
It definitely would. And what's interesting though is, like, I think they could get the 2 seed is like very realistic. So at this point, and that game against the Ravens, like that could basically be for the 2 seed. But yeah, I mean, look, the Chiefs aren't guaranteed to win the second or the the first game they play. They'll have the bye, but I mean that could be against like a team, a Broncos team who's playing some really good football. The Bills could even sneak in, and I mean I would not want to play the Bills in the playoffs. I'll just come out and say that. Like I would not want to play them. The Texans, like the Broncos Texans game this week, is basically I think a elimination game. Like whoever loses that, I think is out of the playoffs almost, because it's just like how are the Browns gonna, fall apart, or the Steelers I think could limp into the playoffs. It's interesting, honestly. Like it's still too early to be pointing your fingers at stuff and saying like this is who we're gonna play, this, that, and the other. But it's coming around that time where the playoff like clinching scenarios. I think I already saw that the Eagles technically have a playoff clinching scenario. And surprisingly, believe it or not, the Carolina Panthers are not mathematically eliminated yet from the playoffs.
Well, that just goes to show you how bad their division is.
Yes.
That they're still not eliminated. But I think that it's because really you look at the Texans, the Colts. Really, I'm trying to look at. Everyone said that our division was going to be the best in the NFL, including myself. It's actually like, especially in the AFC, it's the worst division in the AFC. We have every team except the Dolphins is 500 or worse, and there's no other division. I'm trying to think, aside from the NFC South, is there a division in football where there's the NFC West, which is shocking, the NFC West, the NFC North, and the NFC South. So the Dolphins are the only division in the AFC, and then basically every division in the NFC only has like one winning team. The rest of them are 500 and worse. The only division that doesn't count for is the NFC East, because the Eagles and the Cowboys are both good. But it's just like it's crazy kind of how everything's played out. And you look at a team like the Bills, I certainly wouldn't want to play them. I don't want to play a division team ever in the playoffs. But like the Bills, I'm not saying they're going to lose the next 2 games, but if the Bills lose 2 more games, they're like out. They're done. That game against them the last week of the season could be for them to get in the playoffs or not, realistically, because if they lose to the Chiefs, that's 7 losses. That means the best they could be is 10-7, which is probably just going to get you in. So I don't really see many teams getting in at 9-8, especially with the Steelers, the Broncos, the way they're looking, the Browns with that defense. So, a lot can change. But again, let's just get that home playoff game, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. And it is just like crazy, like just how the whole season has shaken out. Like, and quietly the Dolphins are just, like you said, 8-3, like we were last season. You were telling me before, but yeah, if you want to go say what you were saying, like the Dolphins, this same point as last year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're 8-3 again. But last year that kind of got overshadowed because we kind of sucked in a way. At the end of the season, I know Tua got injured, but Tua really was only missing for the last 2 games. The playoff game, honestly, was like, if Tua was in there, would we have won? Probably, but like we still played really well without him. So it's not like it was like a shit show or anything. You know what I mean? But the last 5-6 games of the season, you went 1-5. That's like really bad. And I'm pretty sure that's what last year was. Last year was like a roller coaster. It was 3-0, 3-3, 8-3, 8-8. It was exactly it was a 1-to-1 ratio of win and loss streaks. So, that's really been, I think, the focus for Mike McDaniel this season, and we've seen it with injuries, is let's like be more consistent. Like, I know we've lost some games, right? But you look at the losses and they haven't come back to back to back at all. We haven't lost 2 games in a row this season. And I know people want to say you've only beaten bad teams, but like consistently winning in the NFL is a hard thing to do. Now, I am very excited for this next stretch of games, because the first half of the season, what we saw from the Dolphins was they played all the easy teams at home, all the I don't want to say easy teams, all the weaker teams we played at home, and all the stronger teams we played on the road. Now it's flipped. Now, aside from the Ravens, most of the like the Jets we just played on the road. We're about to play the Commanders on the road. I know we have to play the Jets at home too, and we play the Raiders, but you're going to play teams on the road that are not good. So I'm curious, like we saw against the Jets, that this offense wasn't the same, and it didn't really have to do with how bad the other team was. I knew we ran the football well, but and we scored 27 points on offense, but I attribute a lot of that to just you got like 50 chances, right? Because the Jets were so bad. But like I'm curious to see against the Commanders, a team that is like the worst defense statistically in the NFL as far as allowing points. I mean, you look at their film and it's just like Mike McDaniel's got to be foaming at the mouth of what he's going to be able to do in the passing game against them. But like I'm curious to see, because I think that if we head into those last 3 games and you see that like, oh, we play really well at home against good teams, and maybe we give the Ravens a good showing on the road, I don't really care what happens in the games because I'll be convinced that like we have improved. But like if we head against the Commanders and we're like laying an egg on the road, but we win still, yes, I'll be happy because we won. But like that's going to be concerning to me because my theory is that the Dolphins, it's a mixture of both, but I would say playing good teams on the road is hard. Playing bad teams on the road is still going to be a little difficult for this team, but we should be able to overcome it. So, we'll see what happens this next stretch of games, but that's just something to monitor as a Dolphins fan. It's kind of flipped the script of what happened early on.
Yeah, for me, what I'm really kind of wanting to see these next few games, like we said, it's not easy competition, but it's competition. You're going to be double-digit favorites in pretty much every game. Like I'd like to see it come together at least once, like where the offense and the defense play their best game. Like I think against the Broncos, that was obviously the best game of the season so far. Like both sides of the ball were playing well. I'd like to see that happen again. Like the defense has been playing so well these last few weeks, and which is great. Like it's been playing at a Super Bowl level, honestly. But yeah, you'd want to see the offense like come back and put up another like 35, 37 point performance like it did, like to know it's still capable of doing that. And look, I get it. Like we'll talk about later, like when you look at this injury report, it's like everyone's on it. It's that time of year, but yeah, I just want to see it come together. Honestly, like I think a part of it is Mike McDaniel. He's still such a young play caller. Like, I think he's just trying to, like, when you watch Andy Reid or Kyle Shanahan, who's been doing it for so long, like, they know when they have to, like, call a better game. Like, they won't do anything, like, creative against the Raiders or the Patriots, like the Panthers. They're just going to, like, call a vanilla game plan and get out of there. Like, I think more so, like, some of the stuff we were seeing earlier in the season, like, it was awesome. And it was so good to see, but, like, it'd be nice to have that in your back pocket for now. And I do think that there is some stuff Mike McDaniel has, but like I said, I think he's just getting used to it as a play caller. Like down the line, it will be a lot better, a lot smoother. But yeah, I'd like to see like some more just plays that are just working, like how well some of the stuff was working at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, no, I agree. And naturally, I mean, you look at the Dolphins offense. Quietly, the Dolphins offense over the last 3 games is only averaging 20 a game, which is below league average, which isn't good. But honestly, I think that I don't really know what goes on in his mind because like he's way smarter than I'll ever be, right? But to me, like if I were to talk to Mike McDaniel, I would be like, you have to know the opponent you're playing, right? This isn't an elimination game, right? Like this is not the end all be all. On a 3rd and 2, or on a 3rd and 1, can we not run like an RPO play action to Durham Smythe or whoever the tight end is, Julian Hill? Can we not? Can we just like run it with Raheem? And if we don't get it, okay, we don't get it. But if we, but hey, it's 4th and 1, punt the ball off, right? Like we're playing the Jets and we're giving them all these opportunities to like score points, and luckily their offense sucks. But that to me has really been the only issue with Mike McDaniel. I don't attribute the offense slowing down to him, just because, I mean, look, when you are a finesse, a lot of not tricks, but you have a lot of motion, a lot of deception on offense, naturally it's going to slow down because defenses figure you out and they counter. To me, the fact that you were still able to score 27 points on the Jets is good, and that you were able to run the football. But naturally, I understand that this Dolphins offense is not the points per game is going to go down because you scored 70. Okay, so everything under 70 is going to bring it down. But certainly it's slowed down the last couple of weeks. But to me, it's just the main thing I've had an issue with him is just like the short yardage play calling. To me is just, I don't really know why they make it so difficult. And it's crazy because in the second half versus the Jets, they just called like traditional short yardage play calling, like just runs or short passes, and it worked every time. We were like that one drive at the very beginning of the third quarter. It was like a 10-minute drive or something like that. It was just like short pass, run, short pass, run, 3rd and 2, inside zone to the left, something like that. Like that's what we need to be doing more of. And I feel like so many times Mike McDaniel just tries to like outthink and outsmart himself. But like if you're going to do like crazy stuff on offense, save it for like 1st and 2nd down. When it comes to like 3rd down, I'm not saying always run it. I'm not, because that's predictable. But what I'm saying is like don't get cute on those short yardage. Like if you're going to throw it, just throw the football, right? Don't do all this like toss to Tyreek. Tyreek tosses about to 2. It's a short little pass. No, like if you're going to throw it, just do like a short little quick pass, dump out, screen something, right? But anyway, I digress. That to me has really been where this offense has slowed down the last couple of weeks, is because we're getting to a lot of 3rd and shorts, but we are not converting, and so we're punting a lot more. Whereas I feel like if we're just, well, obviously there's other stuff. There's Tua throwing interceptions, which we'll talk about. But I just feel like they got to clean up the short yardage play calling, because this team is lethal when they can run the football and they are passing to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek. Mm-hmm. And I think that in the second half of the Jets, we saw that where they were just doing that. They were balanced, pass to Tyreek, pass to Jalen, run with Raheem for 5, run with Raheem for 7. And they were just unstoppable.
Yeah. So 2 quick things, and then we'll get into the game here. But yeah, I just thought it was awesome to see Jalen Waddle just, have a great game. I mean, and he had a tough matchup for sure, and he got the best of it. I think that's safe to say. But yeah, I mean, like we've been saying, like the offense, it's kind of just too focused on either Tyreek, or when Tyreek's out, it's on Waddle. A name that became available that I think the Dolphins should go after, I haven't seen any interest, but I think Zach Ertz would be a great fit on the team. He's not the player he once was or anything, but he's definitely, in my opinion, be an upgrade pass catching wise over Smythe right now. I think he'd be a great fit. I really think this team is just lacking like a tight end. Like a tight end would open up this offense to just so many more new dimensions that we don't even know.
Yeah, I agree. Regardless of if you want to put him above or below Smythe, he'd be a great 1-2. Him and Smythe. I definitely think the Dolphins will be interested. I just think it's probably going to be the Eagles or the Ravens. That's like the rumors going out there right now. Both of them lost their tight ends. Ertz played in Philadelphia, so it makes a lot of sense. But certainly I'd be interested in having him on the team for sure. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Now, I wanted to show this because this just dropped about 2 minutes ago. Mike McDaniel in his press conference today said that Devon Achane, Devon Achane will be playing on Sunday. So I know that might have been up in the air. Are they going to play him? Is he not going to play? I think it's more so to lessen the load of Raheem Mostert. But like at the same time, I don't view this Commanders team kind of shifting into it. I don't view this as a game where, like if it were me, from what I've watched of the Commanders defense, I would be, this is to get back in the MVP conversation game. This is Tyreek should get 150, 200 yards. Jalen Waddle should be at the 100, 150. I mean, this Commanders pass defense is like god awful. But it is good to see Achane in there because I think one of the weaknesses we've seen with the Commanders now that they got rid of their two of their best defensive players on the edge with Chase Young and Montez Sweat is that they no longer have those edge guys to kind of contain, especially on those Mike McDaniel loves to do those tosses and those runs out to the boundary. So if you're able to do that, I think with these edge rushers that they have, I certainly see the vision. But anyway, Devon Achane will be playing, and I'll bring up the injury report as you get into your point.
Yeah, I hope he can make it through a full game. And like from every accounts, it seems like he can make it through a full game. Like they're just being super precautious with him, which I don't get. I mean, like it's fine to do that, but then like what happens if in a playoff game he actually gets hurt? And then it's like, well, it's a good thing we were precautious because now he was only active basically those first 4 games. Like, but anyway, yeah, like this, like you said, their pass defense is just horrendous. They fired Jack Del Rio. I think like, so what? I don't think that's going to make them better. I don't think he was a problem. They're just not very good. Yeah, I mean, no matter who they play either, like it's not like while they are in a tough division with the Cowboys and the Eagles, like it's not like that's why they're so bad. Like they're just got torched by AJ Brown and CeeDee Lamb or something like that. Like it's just a disaster over there. And with Forbes being out too, like it's only going to get worse. But yeah, I mean, just real quick touch on theirs because there's not much there compared to the Dolphins. Yeah, Forbes being out, I think is probably like that's key for them. He was one of the few bright spots on this defense outside of the guys they traded. But yeah, I mean, you look at the Dolphins. I'm surprised me and you aren't on the injury report, Anthony. Like it is just everyone is on there. It is crazy. Of the big names, like when Tehran went down during the game, I thought I was like, well, he's going back on IR. Nice to see that he's going to play. Like same thing though. Like if we're being precautious with some guys, like I don't know why you wouldn't with Tehran, but then again, he's going to get hurt eventually again. So I guess use him when you can. Yeah, I mean, like it's just crazy. But I think most of these guys probably go. It's just a question of what are. I think you could almost touch on this more than me because just of seeing your Twitter. Like it's like the team, like you said, like the doctors like approve these guys, and then it's like, no, you're not playing. Like, are you crazy? Like we have the playoffs down the road. I just don't get it. But yeah, what do you think of the injury report?
Well, yeah, that's kind of how it seems to me. Again, I don't know. I'm not saying that that's what's actually going on behind the scenes. But the way it seems to me is kind of like Mike McDaniel's just like, hey, if anyone has anything, just put them on there. Because, depending on how I feel, if I want to play them or not, I don't want it to be one of those things where, well, like, why is it? Right. Well, that too. Yeah. But it's like, trying to think so like Raheem, right? Like maybe Raheem, well, actually, no, Raheem I've heard is like pretty banged up, but I'm trying to think of someone, just name anyone, but he doesn't want it to get to like game day and they're inactive. And he's like, yeah, he's been dealing with like a little injury. And it's like, okay, but he wasn't like, he's just like anyone who has anything, just put him on there. So I have reason to not play them if I don't feel it's necessary. Javon, there's certain guys like to me that when they don't practice, I don't look too much into it. Like, does Javon Holland need to practice? Like, is that if it's significant? I don't think it is. But like if Javon Holland like practiced fully today, that it hasn't come out yet, I don't think. But like if he practiced fully today or limited, like okay, I don't know what that is, but he should be fine. Kendall Lamb to me is a little because he's been the saving grace for this Dolphins offensive line with Teron Armstead missing a lot of games. So I have no idea what that is, but we'll see. But yeah, I think they just put a lot of guys limited on here. And going back to your point, from my perspective, it seems like the what the doctors say as far as like clearing them or not, that is just like one part of the process for Mike McDaniel. Maybe that's how it always is with coaches, but it seems to me like the coaches are like, yeah, he's good to go, and McDaniel's like, okay, we'll see. Like, I'll let you know. And he's not saying like a rude way. He's just like, I will decide if we really need them or not based off of like the scheme that we're going against. Like, do we need them or can we really wait? And I just hope it doesn't get to the point where you're being too cautious and you're losing some of these games you shouldn't be.
I think some of it's like in the NFL, like the old school, if you wouldn't put guys on the injury report. Like if they were injured, but you knew they were going to play, like you're not even going to disclose that. And I think sort of the new school, like mentality, like, and he's a newer head coach and everything. And maybe just, I mean, he's been in the league forever, obviously, but just what he's seen, like he wants to put those guys on there. Like he knows what he's doing. There's method to the madness. But yeah, I mean, like if just hypothetically, if Bill Belichick was a coach of the Dolphins, the injury report would not look like that. Like there would be like 3 guys on it. It's just different manners of coaching, but it's concerning to see. But it seems like that as long as McDaniel's a coach, like Dolphins injury reports are going to look like that. And I guess it's nothing to be too worked up about. But in the early going, like last year when I'm like, why is everyone on the injury report? Like it does not make sense to me. But I guess that's just what he wants to do.
Yeah, that's just him. And the reality is that, like, if you're going off of which is more accurate, the Dolphins is the most accurate because every player nowadays is like especially the veterans, like the veterans right now are like so beat up to where it's like them playing on Sundays is like huge. Like Raheem Mostert at 31, almost 32, taking the beating he has and playing every Sunday. So those injury reports are like the real what's going on because all those guys I guarantee you are dealing with like a good amount of pain. But as far as what justifies putting you on an injury report, I think that's where it's different with Mike McDaniel to where he's like, if anyone's injured at all, they're going on there. And I think that other teams just put guys on the injury report if they have a significant chance of like not playing. And I think that's really the difference. So I don't really get too worked up about it because honestly, there's been guys on the injury report that haven't played that I thought were going to and vice versa. So I don't really know how much to put into it. All I care about really is, you know, that inactive sheet when that comes out on game day. And it looks to me, again, I don't know Javon's thing. I don't think it's anything significant. But that's really it.
Yeah, and then just last thing on injuries, and then we'll get into the game. I think we obviously got to talk about it. Just massive blow for the Dolphins losing Jalen Phillips. Before we talk about the actual injury and the effects as of the Dolphins, I mean, it's just like, what are we doing at this point with the MetLife turf? Like, it does not make sense. Like, it's not a coincidence anymore. Like, there's clearly something there. Every player in the NFL has mentioned something about it. I saw a graphic, like it was like 13 guys, like Achilles, like it's sad to see, like, honestly, and 2 teams play there. Like sometimes they both play in the same week. Like there'll be a Monday game and a Sunday game there at MetLife. And like, they're endangering the players. Like there's no other way to put it. There has to be a solution. Like this is $1 billion league. There's other events going on there. Like we have soccer games there. You do other stuff there. Like I don't get it. College football is played there. Like, what are we doing here? We can't get a good field on where everyone can be safe and not be concerned about this. And last thing, until I kick it over to you here, I did not get a chance to watch Hard Knocks yet. I'm going on a flight here briefly, and that's where I'm planning to watch it. But I heard it was just very emotional scene with Phillips, like just following the story and everything. But yeah, what do you think about kind of just the injury as a whole?
Well, as far as the turf, I mean, look, I don't get it. You know, I've never had like lots of money, not even kind of like what these billionaires have. why they aren't willing to spend a little bit extra money for grass. It shouldn't even be allowed. It should be like a rule, kind of like cap space, like you don't have a say in it. And even the NFL, as much as I want to hit, like at the same time, like how about the NFL? How about you just pay for grass, like for all the teams? You make billions and billions of dollars every year if they're not willing to do it. But yeah, it's not because of the Jalen Phillips injury. I felt this way for years and years, and this is why I get mad at Bills fans whenever they're complaining about having to be in the sun too long. I'm like, you guys have turf in your stadium, and like you're sitting here talking about how, God forbid, you have to sit in the 75, 80, 85 degree sun in October for a little too long. It's like, oh my God forbid. But then you expect people to go up and play on turf in December. It's like, again, people say stuff like that. And I'm like, I legitimately can't comprehend how you could be like that, like uneducated or stupid, because it's like, if you don't understand the danger in playing on turf in cold weather, when it's basically, turf is already harder than grass. But on top of that, then when you hit it, it's like concrete, and you can break collarbones, you can shatter, like it's horrible. And then they'll sit there and they'll complain about, God forbid, they're having to stay in the sun, even though their team could easily invest in like a little roof to put over them for shade. So again, I digress. But turf is an issue. But with a team like the Jets, if they're not going to fix it after Aaron Rodgers got injured, and Aaron Rodgers is essentially like the real owner of the Jets right now, if they're not going to fix it,
that is the weirdest thing ever.
It is right. Yeah. But if they're not going to fix it after he gets injured, then they're never going to fix it. And I don't get it. And Jalen Phillips is just one of many. It's not just because it's a Dolphins player. If this was, I every single time a player gets injured on turf, it's like, I know people say, well, injuries happen on other fields other than turf. Okay, but why risk it? Like, if you can just get rid of all the turf and just put grass, and if guys get injured, they'll get injured. But don't let it happen because it's turf and your foot can't move or get off the grass the right way. Like, it's just horrible. But anyway, as far as the Jalen Phillips injury, that episode of Hard Knocks was kind of like watching Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, the third movie in the prequel series. Like, I knew what was coming. I knew he was going to become Darth Vader, but I just wasn't ready for it. And that's how it was in the episode, where I was just like, it was hard to watch. And this is why, I'm not saying I love the injury, but this is why I love Hard Knocks, and why I was excited about it, is because, like, I'm happy people, including myself, get to see these players as human beings, because I think a lot of times, myself included, I get caught up in the fan aspect, but I forget, like, these are real people. And even though they are making a lot of money, that there's still emotion to it, obviously. And then, like, for someone like my wife, I mean, my wife's as invested as she's ever been in sports right now because of Hard Knocks, because she says how, like, hey, actually getting to like see their faces and hear their voice and like see the emotion, it like gets her invested. So like on game day, she'll be like, oh, there's Chubb, like there's this person. And that's what I love about Hard Knocks. And it was hard to see him have to go through that. But like, man, I think I might get a Jalen Phillips jersey, because like just who he is as a person on and off the field. He's always like in the running for Walter Payton Man of the Year for the Dolphins. Like, he's always up there for volunteering. He's just a beast of a player. I mean, you and I had been talking about it for 5 weeks, how our edge rushers have just been feasting. So it is a shame. Will it suddenly make our defense like not good? No, but it certainly will make an impact. Right now in the last 5, or since week 5, the Dolphins are top 5 in every statistical category, I think, except like points per game. I think it's something like that. It's like one of those stats, but everything else since week 5, the Dolphins are like top 5, top 3. So I think that now we're going to be like a top 10 unit instead of like a top 5, top 3. But, it's hard to see, but hopefully he comes back stronger than ever and, can dominate like he did the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think it's like, not to diminish anything he's done or anything, but I think they'll be okay. Like, I don't think the drop, like, it's not going to be like when Jalen Ramsey was out, is what I guess I'm saying. I think Andrew Van Ginkel, like, we saw what he was doing the first few weeks. So I think he can step in and have a role. And I hope that's at least what we're going to do, because, he was so much better when he was rushing the passer than at linebacker. And Ogba we've seen what he's done in the past. Like, I think he'll step up. So I'm not like losing him as much as it hurts, because he was playing so well, and he's such a good guy and everything. Like, I think the team will be okay. I think as long as the secondary is healthy, that it shows how good the pass rush can be, because you give these guys like half an extra second, they're gonna feast. Like, that's why the pass rush has been good. Like, we've finally been able to get some help on the back end. And then I think we've talked enough about. It shows how much we think of this game. I think it's no secret that, like we said before, this should be a comfortable victory. That's not a guarantee. We say that now, and then watch, we're going to get down 14-0 again. The difference in this game, like, they are a weaker team, but they're still like, they can still go win games. Like, they got a quarterback who has a live arm. Like, their offense can put up points. They have playmakers all over the offense. But yeah, I think just if as a defense, like, he's still young and inexperienced. If you could just make them matriculate down the field, like, you don't give up the big plays, I think eventually they're going to make a mistake with how they're Sam Howell. He's young and experienced. Their O-line isn't very good. But yeah, I mean, you got anything to say about the game here? Just quick thoughts, and then we'll do keys.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I just, it's not that there's not a lot. It's just, I look at it and I go, this, like, we all know the story. The Commanders are not a good team defensively. I think offensively, I saw a funny meme. I wish I saved it, but someone put, like, this is how Sam Howell plays quarterback, and there's a guy and he's holding like a gun to his own head and like pointing a gun, and that is how he plays. It's like,
it's crazy.
He's the definition of, like, just like, I don't even know, like,
he's a gunslinger. It's like
right. Like, he does not care at all. He's just gonna do whatever. And sometimes, exactly, Ryan Fitzpatrick type of, like, he can go out and he can play real well, but, like, there's a lot of times where, like, it's borderline, like, that was the worst decision you could have made. Oh, it worked out. And, I just think that the big thing with the Commanders offense that we'll talk about, and we'll talk about it in the keys, that for me at least, is they have a lot of big plays. They can be explosive at times. They have some weapons, but Vic Fangio's defense typically shuts that down. They don't give up the big play, and their offensive line just is not good at all. I mean, Sam Howell, I think he's the most sacked quarterback in the NFL, or he's up there. He's gotten sacked like 58 times or something. That's crazy to me.
In the beginning of the year, he was like on pace to like lap David Carr's sack record. It's gotten a lot better the past few weeks, but he's still the most sacked because of how bad it was. Like, if as we'll talk about in the keys, like, they started rolling him out and stuff, so it's gotten a lot better. But if he has to stay in the pocket, like, just how long he holds on to the ball, how he just is processing, like, at the moment, like, it was a recipe for disaster. And like I said, like, it was like historical numbers the first few weeks of the season.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's gotten sacked 55 times. The next one on the list is Bryce Young at 40. Okay, so Tua, for comparison, is at 17, which is less than a third of that. So, like, this is one of those games where I think the defense is going to come out. Jalen got injured. Like, let's go win one for the skipper type of thing. Like, let's go out there, let's dominate, let's show that, like, we're still elite and we can still play well. I look for Bradley Chubb to have a huge game. Really, everyone on the defensive line have a huge game. And then in the secondary, again, just don't give up any big plays. Let Sam Howell have to dissect. Let him have to make good decisions consistently. Don't give them the easy over-the-top completion, and you should be good. And then really for our offense, I mean, this defense is giving up damn near 30 points a game for the Commanders. That's awful. So, like, their run defense is actually respectable. Their pass defense is god awful. So, like, if I'm the Dolphins, I'm going out there, and this is a confidence game for Tua. This is a confidence builder. Go out there, 350 plus yards, 3 to 4 touchdowns. try to limit the turnovers, which we'll talk about. And, you know, for Tyreek and Jalen, like, let's just go out there and feast for 60 minutes.
Yeah. And just, I think offensively, yeah, like you said, I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. What was I going to say? I completely honestly forgot. But yeah, I mean, just do what you're doing. Like, oh, this is what I was going to say. This game can easily snowball out of control for the Commanders. Like with if Sam Howell throws like an interception or two, like you saw on Thanksgiving how it got with the Cowboys. Like they weren't, like, the game was a complete blowout, but like there was a time like for the majority of the game where it was like relatively close, but then like just one interception or two and then pick six, you know, then it's over. Same thing, like the Giants beat them a few weeks ago. They had 6 turnovers in that game. Like if they do that against us, like it's just gonna be a wrap. Like there's so many scenarios where it just can get out of control here. So if you can just play like your game, play sound football, like don't do anything. Like we're not playing Tim Boyle here. Like don't throw a pick six right before half. You're not going to be able to even the score up before half here. Like 2 interceptions before half against the Commanders, you're not going to be as lucky as you were last week. But yeah, I mean, let's get into keys here. Yeah, first for me, I think it's just, and you have it on here too, like against the teams that aren't, you know, this team's basically eliminated from the playoffs. Like they're not mathematically yet, but they're not making the playoffs. Like just stay healthy. Like it's simple as that. Like we have a long season still to come. Hopefully we have a lot more games left. So you want to be healthy. Like you don't want guys to keep dropping against these teams that have no business, you know, even being on the same field as us.
Yeah, I agree with you. I put the same thing as far as not necessarily limiting injuries, but because you can't like limit them. But you know, again, just be cautious with stuff like, and that's why I think that for Mike McDaniel, he understands like, hey, if there's guys that are at high risk of injury, you know, let's watch what, you know, let's watch how much they're playing. Let's watch. Maybe they don't even need to play. But yeah, just trying to stay as healthy as possible because, you know, we can't afford to lose any significant players right now at this point in the season.
Yeah, and then next for me, I just got keep Sam Howell, keep him in the pocket. Like I said, they've been a lot better recently with getting him out of the pocket, moving him around. But their O-line is just, it's a mess. I mean, I looked it up. You said he had 58 sacks. The record is 76 in 16 games. So I think he probably comfortably passes that and will end up having the record. But yeah, I mean, if you could find a way to keep in the pocket, just keep contained, like he's going to hold on to the ball longer and take sacks. I mean, and those are drive killers. I don't think this game needs to be more complicated than it is, and I think the Dolphins know that. So yeah, I mean, just do the little things. Like the route to victory here, it's pretty straightforward. Here it's when, just as an example, we were playing the Chiefs. The route to victory was stopping Travis Kelce, and somehow the Dolphins did that. But then, you know, they shot themselves in the foot, and that's why they lost. I think if you could just make the Commanders be the team that has to force the issue and put up a ton of points, they're going to struggle. And yeah, I got finished drives. Like I said, just there, if they have to put up a ton of points and move the ball downfield efficiently, they're going to struggle. This is not an efficient offense. They're explosive offense. They have a ton of playmakers, but efficiency wise, they're not there. The Dolphins have been able to put together a 10-minute drive. I think it was thereabouts around. Like that's just so good to see. But you got to finish those drives. If you have a drive that long and then it ends in a field goal, that's almost a loss because depending on the score at that time, you know, 3 points ain't going to cut it. And as we've seen, though, like Mike McDaniel knows that he's been aggressive and going for it. So I don't think it's going to be an issue of finishing drives. Yeah, I mean, the short yardage situation, continuing to see. Hopefully they got something up their sleeve for that. But yeah, I mean, that you do those things, you finish drives, you make Sam Howell beat you. by staying in the pocket and being efficient, it's going to be a tough game for the Commanders.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, I did a theme of limiting things, limit the turnovers, big plays, and injuries. You know, again, for the big plays, kind of what you were talking about, this is not an efficient offense for the Commanders. This is a boomer bust. And I think that we have the defensive coordinator to stop that because Vic Fangio does not give up a lot of big plays. So again, just don't give them anything easy. Make it hard for them. Give them time, or make it don't give them any easy completions to where he can just get the ball out of his hands. Make him have to go through his progressions, and then by that time, hopefully our defensive line is closing in and he has to make a, contested throw under pressure. And then limiting the turnovers, Tua, the last 5 games, has a damn near 1-to-1 turnover to touchdown ratio, whether it's fumbles or interceptions. That's just not going to cut it. And we saw last year that he played his worst football in December, which is not good. You want to play your best football in December. So that's going to be something to monitor. But yeah, you got to limit the turnovers. You can't be giving teams like this extra momentum. Like, again, just be consistent, methodical, on offense. Don't have, again, like you said, don't throw a pick six. Don't throw 2 interceptions back to back to close the half off, because you're not going to get a 99-yard Hail Mary, right? So if you can do those things, again, just not that many turnovers. We know the Commanders will probably turn it over. Limit those big plays for the Commanders, and then just try to stay as healthy as possible. You should be walking out of here 9-3. I see no reason to think otherwise. And as far as the score, again, you and I see the game pretty similarly. I'll just do mine real quick. I think the Dolphins are going to win this game. I think they're going to score a lot of points. I do have the Commanders scoring a little more. I could see them scoring like 20 to 24 points, just like a last-minute touchdown, because they do have an explosive offense. But I think this is one of those games where the Dolphins are just going to consistently be able to drive the football on their defense. So give me the Dolphins to win 35-20.
Yeah, I think they're catching the Commanders, much like they caught the Jets at a good time. This team is in disarray, but they still have an explosive offense, so I think they'll be able to put up some points. But yeah, I think their defense is just like firing Jack Del Rio. The writing's on the wall here. Like, they're trying to get any spark they can, but I think the Commanders are in for a rebuild here. It's looking like, so this could be the end for them this year. I think this may be like a poor effort from them. Possibly. I kind of think, like you said, Dolphins are going to be able to put up points, no problem, but they should still be able to score. So yeah, I got it 34-17, comfortable game. I don't think it's ever going to be really in doubt, and just keep winning. I mean, we got a few weeks still to come here with winnable games. Just win them. Just make it simple. And then you got the tough games and find a way to win those.
Yep, I agree. Hopefully, again, we're looking at it and we're 9-3, 3 days or 2.5 days from now, and I think we will be. But again, it starts this week against the Commanders, so let's go out there and let's get a win.
Yeah, I mean, and with the NFL, like, you see it every time. There's some times where some teams don't show up to games. I don't think that's going to happen this time with the Dolphins. Between Hard Knocks and everything, I feel like this team is just like has to be like laser focused. So yeah, I think we will have a good Sunday and a good Monday, and we'll just continue to go from here. But yeah, a lot more Dolphins versus the world to come. Hopefully we get some playoff games and everything in here. Yeah, you got anything else?
No. Again, fins up. Hope we win. Like and subscribe as always, and that's about it.
I said it better myself. Like and subscribe, guys. Thank you for all the support. Fins up.